Thank you everyone for joining us. And I think Prof. Lawrence, you opened the floor really well for us. And maybe, through our sharing, we could share ideas as well on how we can implement assessments, be it, with virtual assistants. So thank you everyone for joining us today and welcome to our presentation on augmenting skills assessments using AI, where we'll share about the pedagogical hindsights, insights, and foresights gleaned from our applied research project. We are a team from Nanyang Polytechnic and IHL in Singapore, and our members are Chris, our principal investigator and education specialist of the team, Kwong, who we turn to for his technical leadership and expertise, Wei, who is our AI engineer. She makes sense of our AI algorithms and works on our AI model refinements. And myself, Jude, who looks to provide an analytical lens to the findings from our research. Today, we'll talk about what we have learned from designing systems on which we had built our AI solutions, share how we had applied AI technologies for pedagogical transformation, and peer into our crystal ball to envision the future of learning using AI. We share with you our inspiration for embarking on this project, provide an overview of our AI skills assessment engine, and we'll walk you through some of our applied case studies. So now, what was our inspiration to pursue the use of AI as a tech innovation for skills assessment? Well, it started with two published reports. The first
Sorry, Jude, I can't hear you.
I think Jude has frozen, so hopefully he comes back online soon. But in the meantime, I'll just fill in. Oh, he's back. Jude, you froze. You have to repeat again.
Where am I?
From the beginning of this slide, because you froze just now.
So our inspiration for pursuing AI as a tech innovation for skills assessment, it started with two published reports, one telling us about the growing youth unemployment and the rise of needs, those that are not in education, employment, or training. As a very small country, it is really not uncommon for our youths in Singapore to venture forth to find employment opportunities overseas. We wanted to prepare our youth for the highly competitive job landscape when they venture beyond our shores. The second report highlighted a case of 54% graduate underemployment for a particular surveyed group. But we were also encouraged to see that 75% of them wanted to reskill, upskill, and deep skill. As educators, we want to help them gain greater awareness on the areas to upskill, to take the next step forward. As we all know, skills assessment can be complex. Current evaluation methods can benefit from a reduction of an overemphasis of examinations and move towards measuring skills mastery. We saw a gap where AI can transform current assessment methods as it can lend objectivity and fidelity to the assessment while maintaining rigor for the candidates. Tracking the progress of priority skills better caters for the industry's 4.0 future work competencies and the identification of 21st century skills. At Nanyang Polytechnic, we map our skills future proficiency tiers to the learning outcomes of each course offered. Skills Future is Singapore's national competency and skills framework that is developed in partnership with private, public, and educational sectors. We therefore design our AI solution on these core developmental tenets to determine and achieve the Skills Future benchmarks. Proficiency is determined and benchmarked to create a skills profile which are then mapped to the Skills Future framework from which we design our course learning outcomes to help our learners upskill. We wanted our AI skills assessor to approach this from a different angle, a fresh take, if you will. It is to augment skills assessment to help learners discover new skills trajectories while reaping the benefits of AI. The algorithms are not meant to shortlist or rank the candidates. Rather, it is to help the learners discover their strengths so that they can work to enhance them. In this respect, our AI skills assessor is unique as it augments human potential through skills development. So we set out to tackle 3 challenges. We wanted to develop a versatile AI engine to conduct competency-based proficiency testing. We wanted to use AI to discover and auto-generate skills profiles to provide the much desired guidance for learners. We wanted to use AI to auto-identify and, more importantly, track future skills that become a priority over time. Now, allow me to hand you over to Kwong, who will share with you our AI skills assessment engine. Kwong, please.
Thank you, Jude. Just to share, our solution is to use AI to create a smarter assessment experience. Nanyang Polytechnic's School of Business Management AI-assisted competency-based assessment engine helps learners to discover their strengths and guide them through their skill mastery. To the users and candidates, this is actually an online assessment platform that automates administrative tasks, and then the users can actually download their skills profile reports after that. The AI skills engine is trained to determine skills proficiency level that is aligned with Singapore's well-recognized skills future competency. The algorithm automates identifying, assessing, and enhancing skills and traits that powers this module currently. An application review that pulls out skills and traits, AI enhanced adaptive business aptitude test, a chatbot that interviews and double up as a FAQ for the candidates, and lastly, an essay and short structure answer auto grader that can grade various modules based on bands, scores by rubrics. Currently, it assesses 4 skills future competency: communication, creative thinking, sense making, and problem solving. Beyond the skills future competency, it also looks for traits like entrepreneurship, potential, passion, teamwork, and interpersonal skills. Let's take a look at a video that is a short demo. So, welcome to the assessor. The assessor is an online assessor. It runs, it's a web app that allows the user to log in. Once after they are logged in, they actually will be interviewed by the chatbot. The chatbot will question them based on certain traits. Then after that, they are supposed to take this AI aptitude test, which actually will grade them. And after that, they are actually able to retrieve their personalized reports that gives them personal insights and recommendation based on their skills. So we have a sample here, a quick sample. So let me quickly move on. As a Hindsight, we would like to share for any development team is to get a handle on the system stacks used to develop AI solution, starting with the right technology that best fit your project can actually save you a lot of time. Developer like data scientists tend to go with their true and try, and it is not always ideal when experimenting to achieve new breakthroughs. As technology always advances, the key areas to consider for what we call system stacks are AI infrastructure. There are mainly two pillars: AI data and AI compute, irrespective of industrial verticals and business problem. Machine learning needs data that can come in different form: relational database, unstructured data stored as binary objects, annotation stored in NoSQL database, raw data ingested into data lakes act as inputs for all these machine learning models. Deep learning and neural network are advanced techniques of machine learning, perform complex computation that demands a combination of CPU and GPU. Cloud provider offers pre-configured VM templates that comes with popular frameworks such as TensorFlow and Microsoft Cognitive Services. These virtual machines that are backed by GPU act as workhorse to train complex neural network and machine learning models. Cognitive computing APIs such as vision, speech, and translation are available as REST endpoints for developer to perform API calls. There are times whereby you will run into long AI processing time and system crash. This is where you need to choose the right combination of AI modeling tool and AI services that will really save your time. What we adopt was a lean approach to developing AI solutions for the real world. By doing this, you can actually avoid costly trial and error, and you don't need to have an army of developers to create this AI solution. I'll hand over to Chris.
Thank you, Kwong. So to elaborate a little further what Kwong has just shared, we also had a pedagogical model. What you see here, I think Jude and Kwong has already covered how our AI engine, assessment engine works. But also highlight the way we built a virtuous cycle as a feedback loop. So the system actually gets smarter when the learner in the learner model uses it. It fits into a domain. The domain actually has contextualized tests. So hospitality students actually take a different test for problem solving compared to an accounting student, for example. And it all goes into a pedagogical model when we supervise the data and is used to, again, have this continuous feedback loop that the systems get smarter as we use it more and more. So allow me to talk through two possible case users that we have used so far. The first is for early admission exercises. So we tried this as a pilot in 2020, and it proved to be quite successful. As you're aware, most of these systems have involves large numbers of applicants, usually in the thousands, and you have to shortlist to a very small number, and there's usually an essay as well as an interview involved. So we calculated that it takes about 60 to 90 minutes to evaluate each candidate properly, and that would mean that 25 to 30 staff would spend each about 7.5 working days. So the beauty of our engine is automated. The bot actually takes over, and anybody the bot says or the AI engine says is not good enough actually gets reviewed by a human, so there's always a fail-safe there. Okay, I won't cover the data sets and AI, but that one you can always ask us how we did it. We'd be happy to share it. But essentially, what we'll cover is the results. The results are AI versus human. I think that's always the comparison. The comparison is such that we actually managed to get a fairly high agreement rate. And what the AI did beautifully was they was able to detect certain things which a human did not. And humans being fatigued and having to repeat assessing the same candidates and candidates over and over again may get fatigued and lose it. But AI was able to detect some of these. And what you see in the bracket is we went back to the human assessors to tell them to relook at the candidates that AI thought was suitable. And 23 out of 53 they accepted, hence our agreement rate went up. But the benefit is this: it saves time, it cuts down on manpower, and most importantly, it augments human potential and assessment qualities may have been missed. The second application is where we actually use it to pinpoint on just one skills future competency called communication skills. As you might be aware, in Singapore, they always have been talking about the fact that our graduates have strong technical skills but weaker communication skills. As such, we use the bot differently. We incorporated the AI engine into e-learning. So instead of using a usual quiz, you always get the end of e-learning. The AI bot actually takes over that function now. So what we've been doing is in tracking, and we also look at because we have an auto grader for essays and application review, we can actually do a lot more than just MCQ questions. So what are the results? Again, I won't get through the data sets and AI. The results are actually quite promising. The AI was able to, over time, these stages represent a semester. So over 3 semesters, you do notice in skills future, and more of them are moving towards the advanced proficiency tier. There's skills future, there's 3 tiers. But more importantly, it actually augments satisfaction you see in e-learning, and more people, thanks to the report, actually did additional e-learning as well. So we're quite pleased with the results of what AI can achieve. Okay, now allow me now let Jude close very quickly. Jude, go ahead.
All right. So thanks, Chris. One-to-one tutoring has always been thought to be the most effective, right? But however, that a private tutor for every learner is really untenable, a real pipe dream because there are limited resource, right? Because of this resource constraints, assessments may not sufficiently harness the potential for personalized feedback for individuals. And therefore, our project has shown that there is possibility to develop a personal upskilling coach for every learner at any given point in time. Our polytechnic, we utilize a lot of project-based learning as a primary mode of instruction and assessment. But collaborative learning has certain challenges, especially when it comes to group projects where there are disproportionate ability teams, uneven contributions, free riders, right? Or even interpersonal conflicts. As we were looking into measuring teamwork, it dawned upon us that it might actually be possible to use AI to better inform us of group formation. AI can act as an intelligent agent to facilitate team discussions, support collaborative learning, and project-based learning. We have since attracted considerable interest from our academic colleagues. And we also want to try to support them to have their own chatbots, their own AI individualized tests, and labor-saving auto-graders. But more importantly, we hope our colleagues will use the data that is being generated from these AI assistants to better inform their teaching and learning practices. Allow me to just very quickly recap the benefits of AI technologies in education. One, AI allows us to scale the administration of assessments, capitalizing on automation to increase productivity. We have seen firsthand how AI has had an overwhelmingly positive effect on e-learning outcomes and satisfaction. AI augmented assessments can identify qualities that may have otherwise been overlooked. And through our project, we are excited by the promise that AI can bring and offer true personalizations for our learners. And so it is my hope that we have inspired you today to embark on similar AI for education journeys. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Jude, Chris, Kwong, and Wenqian. Is it like okay? Is there any questions from participants, from our delegates? You can type on the chat or unmute yourself. Indeed, I have one. It's regarding about the assessment. If I remember correctly, you said about essay and short answer assessment as well, and then you use AI to mark or grade students' work. Is it like based on machine learning or based on what? How can the AI judge the correctness or grade the essay? It seems to me, I mean, if it is like multiple choice, it's okay, but then if it is essay, probably you have to have some sort of machine learning, right?
So that's a great question. So absolutely, we actually use several techniques. I think the first, of course, is machine learning. The one that we actually use is actually an AutoML pipeline. So it's for unsupervised learning. So the machine actually learns how to pick up some of these things well. And two, we did also augment it with curated structured data. And that's why we ran several UATs with actual staff grading. So we can augment the data as well. But it's not the end of it. We also enable NLP as well, natural language processing modules, to pull out some of the latent semantic analysis. So it's actually quite a complex piece of work. It took us about 6 months to build a topic. So these are in AI what we call topic modeling. So once you have a topic modeling, you can actually marry it up with scoring methods, and the AI can take over after that. So it's quite fun that way.
Okay, thank you, Chris. I think time's up.